cultural practice. Additionally, Malay cultures is enriched with creation myths that relate to the figures such as Prophet Muhammad and Adam and Eve. These stories hold particular significance within Malay cultures, contributing to their collective identity. Lastly, Malay hold a strong belief in the afterlife, encompassing concept of torment and paradise. These beliefs are deeply embedded in their cultural practice and rituals, reflecting their worldview. Next slide, please. So, in terms of the Malay worldview in family, firstly, traditional Malay society assign distinct roles to men and women. Men are tasked with the responsibility of providing economic support for the family, while women are highly regarded and occupy complementary roles within the family role structures. Secondly, in terms of human rights and inheritance, there exists a practice where the woman inherits half of what the male counterpart receives. However, it's worth noting that there is an exception to this norm in matriarchal regions like Negara Sembilan, where females' descendants inherit customary lands. Lastly, the Malay reviews place significant emphasis on the parent and child relationship, underscoring the vital roles of parents in impacting good manners and value to their children. This results in the calculations of the robust and nurturing parents-child bond within Malay society. Next slide, please. So, moving on to the Malay worldview in everyday life. Malay prioritize various aspects of the Malay worldviews. Firstly, congregational prayer hold immense significance, particularly the Friday noon prayers. Additionally, the Hajj pilgrimage is highly esteemed and fulfilling the duty of giving alms, known as zakat, is considered a substantial obligation. Secondly, Malay place a strong emphasis on the pursuit of Islamic knowledge, with a particular focus on Quranic education. The Quran is highly revered as the primary source of Islamic law. Lastly, Malay possess a deep rooted respect for nature, viewing it as the creations of Allah. They see themselves as guardians and of the environment, demonstrating a profound reverse for the nature world. Okay, last slide. Okay, so now we come to the Confucianism in culture, family, and everyday life. In terms of cultures aspect, firstly, Confucianism revolves around the central tenets of Ren in Chinese Ren, emphasizing the significance of benevolence and compassion toward others. Ren is regarded as the pinnacle of moral virtues and serves as guiding principles for ethical conduct. Additionally, Confucian thinkers with Mengzi in China's in English measures being a prominent example structuring upheld the belief in the inherent goodness of human natures. They persist that individuals possess innate qualities conducted to morals and virtual behaviors. Moreover, Confucianism advocates for the idea that individuals are integrated components of border communities and bear a responsibility towards others, thereby fostering social cohesion and harmony. Okay, thank you, Dr. Rivani. Okay, so yes. In family, Confucian nations place a strong emphasis on family value and ethics. Concepts such as filial piety, in which is xiao in Chinese, meaning that respect for the elders and public conduct play vital roles in Confucian ethics. These values underscore the importance of tradition, family, and community, contributing to social stability and fostering a strong sense of identity among Chinese people. Additionally, practices such as respect for elders, adhere to the rituals, and the presence of hierarchical social structures are evident. Okay, next slide, please. So in terms of everyday life, Confucianism Li is another important important concept, and the importance of education is also stressed. There's a strong attached to rituals and hierarchical society structure in Chinese cultures, which are still observed in today's everyday life. This is evident in the way people interacting with each other, in the way people value educations, in the way in which superiors and subordinates relate to one another. This adherence to rituals and hierarchical social structures is rooted in Confucian's beliefs, which emphasize the importance of respect, um, reciprocity, and constancy. Education is highly valued as is seen as a path to social mobility and success. So now we want to compare the similarity between Malay worldviews and Confucianism in culture, family, and daily life. Firstly, both cultures place a strong emphasis on the value of respect and hierarchy within their society. In Malay society, the respect for elders is deeply integrated as the fundamental cultural value, mirroring Confucianism's emphasis on filial pieties and the reverence for elders as central ethical principles. Secondly, both traditions prioritize moral educations and the cultivations of various virtues among their members. Malay parents instill good manners and virtual behaviors in their children, while Confucianism encourages individuals to embark on a journey of self-improvement and self-reflections to achieve morals excellence. Lastly, the influence of religious texts play a significant role in both cultures. Malays tend to religious texts like Kitab Jabi to gain insight into their worldview, just as Confucianism places great importance on the study of Confucian classes as source of moral and ethical guidance. So next slide, please. So lastly, I will talk about the difference between Malay values and Confucianism in culture, family, and daily life. Firstly, Malay values is deeply rooted in Islam, emphasizing belief in the afterlife and the teaching of Prophet Muhammad, whereas Confucianism is a secular philosophy with less focus on religious beliefs or afterlife. Secondly, Malay society has distinct inherent practice where women generally inherit less than men, except in matriarchal regions, while Confucianism does not explicitly prioritize gender equality in inheritance. Thirdly, Confucianism has a broader regional influence, shaping culture, political, and social norms in countries like South Korea, Japan, and Southeast Asia. While Malay Review's impact is more concentrated in Malaysia and some parts of Southeast Asia. Additionally, Malay shows a reverence for nature and allows creations and consider themselves environmental guardian, a perspective not explicitly present in Confucianism. Finally, Confucianism's significant impact governance and leadership in East Asia countries, emphasizing benevolence and duty in rules, whereas Malay reviews primarily influence culture's norms without direct political system impact. So in conclusion, the comparative study of Malay reviews and Confucianism in culture, family, and daily life highlight both shared values and distinct differences that reflect the rich diversity of Asian cultures. Both carefully emphasize the importance of respect, hierarchy, and moral education, demonstrating a commitment to nurture virtuous individuals and cohesive community. However, the difference in religious belief, inheritance practice, regional influence, and environmental perspective, political impact showcase the unique characteristics that define each worldview. Malay reviews draw its strength for Islamic belief and cultural practice, while Confucianism's secular philosophy transcends its original to shape society across East Asia. So, yes, this next slide, please. There, they are my reference used for writing the article. Thank you. I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ji. And next, my article title, hello everyone, my name is Liu Jijia, and my article title is Comparative Study of Confucianism and Malay Worldview in Politics, Economic Life, and Organizations. Next slide, please. This is the table of contents. There are three main parts. The first is introduction, then is content, and finally is conclusion. And there are three parts in content. The first is Confucianism in politics and Malay worldview in politics. Confucianism in economic life and Malay worldview in economic life. And Confucianism in organizations and Malay worldview in organizations. Next slide, please. Let us look at the introduction part. This comparative study explores Confucianism and the Malay worldview, examining their profound impact on politics, economic life, and organizational structures. Confucianism, rooted in ancient Chinese philosophy, and the Malay worldview, shaped by indigenous and Islamic traditions, represents distinct cultural and philosophical traditions. This research compared their similarity and these differences in three crucial domains. Confucianism emphasized ethical governance and hierarchical authority, where the Malay worldview emphasized leadership and community consultation. Confucian society considered individual success, where the Malay worldview underscores group cooperation and mutual support. Confucianism and the Malay worldview are two distinct cultural and philosophical traditions that have played important roles in shaping the values, beliefs, and practices of their respective societies. These traditions have influenced various aspects of life, including politics, economic practices, and organizational structures. This essay aims to provide a comprehensive analysis of Confucianism and the Malay worldview in three domains, highlighting both their similarities and differences. Next slide, please. So in terms of Confucianism in politics, Confucianism has had a profound influence on Chinese politics. Confucianism addressed all aspects of Chinese social interactions and created a social hierarchy governing relationships between ruler and subject, father and son, husband and wife, elderly and young, and among friends. According to Quan Shenzhao, propriety focused on the social hierarchy structure developed in Confucianism and has its origin in the ancient traditional rites. It dictates the loyalty and the respect one is accepted to give their equals, elders, and rulers, as well as the norm and expected behavior for all other interactions, including eating, dress, and education. This suggests that Confucianism promotes the idea of hierarchical order in society and government. It emphasizes the importance of maintaining social harmony through clearly defined rules and responsibilities for rulers, officials, and subjects. Next slide, please. In Malay worldview in politics, politics in Malay worldview is a bit different from Confucianism. There are basically two traditional socio-political systems among the Malays of the peninsula, Ada Temenggong and Ada Papadi. Ada represents the customary laws and the traditions of the Malay people. It plays a significant role in regulating social and political life, especially in rural areas. At the local level, the basic organization of the Peninsula Malays is the village or the compound. The size of the village varies, but a typical village is a conglomeration of individual houses, each housing a family. The compound is not only a local community, but one based on kinship ties also. The socio-political organization of a village is quite simple. Malays place a strong emphasis on communal values within their communities or compounds. This sense of community is often extended to the political sphere, with political leaders expected to promote the welfare of their constituents. Next slide, please. In terms of Confucianism in economic life, the influence of the Confucianism on economic life is reflected in its overall emphasis in morality. Confucius would expect a benevolent person to show the quality of benevolence in the interpersonal relationships in general, whether commercial or non-commercial relations. It suggests that Confucianism takes a comprehensive approach to morality. Regarding the morality of market transactions, Confucius was negative about the desire for gain. There is a famous saying of Confucius that the mind of the superior man is conversant with righteousness, and the mind of the mean man is conversant with gain. While Confucius clearly distinguished between the good and the profitable, they did not point to a necessary contradiction between the two. It seems that profit was acceptable as long as it occurred with rightness. Next slide, please. In terms of Malay worldview in economic life, Malay society traditionally has a hierarchical structure which can influence economic relationships. While modernization has brought changes, there is still an expectation of difference to authority and leaders in economic dealings. The leader, often represented by village head, plays a crucial role in economic life. The leader is responsible for guiding economic activities, resolving disputes, and ensuring the welfare of the community. Economic activity are often localized, with a social focus on the village or compound level. This reflects the importance of the community in economic life, where everyone plays a part in contributing to the overall well-being. Malay's traditional practice resource management and resource sharing. Concepts like Basatu Padu and Tongkat Ali underscore the importance of working together and sharing resources for the common good. This is often seen in practices like communal farming. Next slide, please. In terms of Confucianism in organizations, Confucianism devoted himself to developing Confucian doctrine, the ultimate concern of which was to establish order in society. Father and son, Thorin and the minister, husband and wife, old and young, and friends, are called Wuren in Confucianism. Wuren not only established the social rulers, values, and hierarchical power structure, but also formed the functional networks, all of which have profound influence on follow-up Chinese culture. Huang even argued that feminism is one of the most important characteristics in Chinese culture and also the basis of Chinese organizations. Next slide, please. In terms of Malay worldview in organizations, the basic socio-political organizations in Malay view is two traditional socio-political systems among the Malays of Peninsula, Adat Temanggung and Adat Papati. While the former is more widespread, however, it is in the latter that the one guides the survival of what could have been the social organization of the indigenous peoples in the Malay archipelago before the rise of the states and the kingdoms. At the local level, the basic organization of Peninsular Malays is the village and all the compound. A headman should be a man skilled in martial arts. It's consistent with the Malay tradition worldview that a leader should be one to lead his group into battle. However, the practical and physical qualities are balanced by religious values, which will add to the headman's standing in his community. Not only should be religious, but he must appear to be pious, observing all tenets of Islam overtly. Next slide, please. So the final part is conclusion. In summary, in politics, Confucianism and Malay worldview both emphasize ethical leadership and the importance of harmony in society. However, they differ in their approach to hierarchy, the role of leaders, and the influence of culture and religion. While Confucianism tends to individual virtue, the Malay worldview placed greater emphasis on communal values and Islamic principles. In economic life, with both Confucianism and the Malay worldview emphasize ethical conduct in economic life, they differ in their approach to individualism, economic structures, the role of leadership, and the influence of culture and religion. Confucianism toward individual achievement and may have hierarchical economic structures, while the Malay worldview values collectivism and the integration of Islamic principles in economic activities. In organizations, where Confucianism emphasizes hierarchical leadership and ethical conduct, the Malay worldview emphasizes collective decision-making and community cohesion. So that's all. Thank you.
Tidia on the presentation on the comparative study of Confucianism and Malay worldview, on the aspect of culture, family, everyday life, and also on the politics, economy, and organizations. Now we have come to the peer-to-peer review sessions where the speakers would review on each other article presentation and also on the articles by the scholar. We'll start with Tidia on reviewing the Jingyi article.
Okay. Overall, I think it is a good article. The article's organization with separate sections for each aspect of culture, family, and everyday life enhances readability and comprehension. The engaging language and clear description make complex concepts accessible to broad audience. And the article provides a thorough comparative analysis to the Malay worldview and Confucianism in various aspects of culture, family, and daily life. The structured approach allows readers to grasp the similarity and differences. And the article successfully highlights the profound cultural aspects of both worldview, such as the transition to Islam in Malay culture and the centrality of filial piety in Confucianism. These insights provide a deeper understanding of the culture under examination. Even it is a good article, but I think there are also some areas can improvement. While the article briefly touches on the Malay's reverence for nature, it could benefit from a more extensive discussion of the environment perspectives with both worldviews. This would provide a richer understanding of the cultural relationship with the environment. But overall, where there are areas for improvement in this article, it effectively highlights the culture, family, and daily life aspects of Malay worldview and Confucianism. So, yes.
Okay. So, yes. In my opinion, this article from Qijia provide an interesting comparison between Confucianism and Malay views across political, economic life, and organism. And I had some observations. And in overall, the coherence, it is clear that the comparison between Confucianism and the Malay worldviews are consistency drawn through the articles. So I think it's important to maintain the clear and consistent thrust of comparisons to help readers to understand the similarity and difference. And in terms of the clarity and structures, this article is well structured with clear sections, heading, making it easier to follow the comparisons across political, economic, and organizations. And in the political sections, these sections on Confucianism and in politics is well detailed and provides specific insights into how Confucianism influenced Chinese politics. This section on Malay politics is informative, but I think it could benefit from a bit more details or a specific example to illustrate the concept mentioned. And in the economic life sections, these sections on both Confucianism and Malay views in economic life are informative and provide insight into cultures and philosophical influence on economic behaviors. However, consider providing specific historical or contemporary example to support the ideas of crime will be better. And in terms of the organization sections, the sections on Confucianism and the medieval views in organizations are also informative. But it might be helpful to dive deeper into how these philosophies influence modern organizations and management practice in their respective regions. So, in the conclusion sections, the conclusion effectively summarize the main points of the analysis. However, it could be strengthened by highlighting the practical implications or significance of understanding these cultures and the philosophical difference in the modern world. So, and that's all of my observations and advice. Thank you.
The Q&A session will be begin now. If there are any question from the audience.
I had a question for Chija. Is there a different? Okay. The question for Chija: is there a different perception of individual and collective responsibility in the Confucianism and Malay Worldview?
Yes, sure. There is a difference between the Confucian and the Malay worldview on individual and collective responsibility. And this difference has had an impact on decision making and practice in politics, economics, and organizations. The Confucian emphasis on individual morality and behavior is essential for the stability and governance of society, while the Malay worldview is more focused on the collective responsibility, pursuing the good and the equality of society as a whole. Yes.
Are there any questions?
Okay, I have a question. Thank you for the time, moderator. I have a question specifically referring to Gen Z. My question is, can you elaborate a little bit regarding how the respective views, both Nusantara Malay, also the Confucianism, uh, with regard to the impact of environmental perspective and how their societies practice protect the environment. Thank you for.
Okay, thank you, Hani, for the question. So it's clear that both Confucianism and the Malay worldview has distinct influence on the society, environmental perspective, and practice. In the case of Confucianism, there is an inherent respect for nature, but it's often indirect. Confucianism emphasizes the concept of li, or rituals, which includes a sense of harmonies with the nature world. This harmony is reflected in traditional Chinese landscape painting of poetry, which often depict nature as an integral part of human existence. However, Confucianism primarily focus on social harmonies and ethics, with less emphasis on direct environmental activism. However, on the other hand, the Malay views, deeply rooted in Islamic beliefs, had a more direct influence on environmental perspectives. Malay views nature as aligned creations, and they see themselves as stray the gradient of the environments. These perspectives align with Islamic principles that emphasize the responsible use of the resource and the avoidance of wastefulness. Practice like conserving waters, minimizing pollutions, and practicing protecting nature's habitat are often driven by Islamic environmental ethic with Malay communities. So to sum up, while both worldviews recognize the importance of respecting nature, the Malay worldviews of Islamic foundations pay a stronger emphasis on environmental stewardship and conservation practice as the integrates components of daily life. Confucianism, while indirectly promoting harmony with nature, tend to prioritize social and ethical concern in its teaching. Thank you.
I have a question. Yeah, you used the word li just now, right?
Yes.
Li, you used the word li just now. And you translate that to ritual.
Yeah. Courtesy and rituals.
Courtesy.
Courtesy and rituals.
Ritual, right.
And the importance of education is also included in this concept. Yeah.
Also, importance of education also included in the concept of li.
Yeah.
It's as simple as polite and limau.
Yeah.
Right. So when we say ritual would have some other meaning the customs, the rituals of drinking tea, rituals of greeting parents. That's a ritual, right?
Yeah.
Here, li here means how would you define li in this concept? In this context, rather. So you say li with the environment, for instance, because we use li to talk about the environment just now.
Yeah.
So how would you explain
because
using li?
Confucianism believes the kindness of human in nature. So Li is the second importance after the concept of Ren. So Li is the reflections of the Ren. So we should respect our elderly and also respect the cultures. Yeah.
Okay. So
I think Li is
this is the next one. I think.
Yeah.
This is right.
I think Li is the manifest of Ren.
Oh, li is the manifest of Ren.
Yeah.
Okay, this is an interesting point there. Okay. So the relationship between human and environment is guided by not just li but also Ren.
Yeah. Because Confucianism has many values, not only Li, Ren, and Xiao is a Ren, Yi, Li, Zhi, Xiao. Yeah, so it's there's a very strict connection between those values and cannot be a part of each other. Yeah.
Okay. Now, another question I have still about family. That sometimes people will see, right? You have the ruler and the subject, right? The father and son, and then forgot what's that? Friend to friend, right? Oh, and the elder and the younger, or something like that. So what happened to the mother and the daughter in this whole hierarchy? The mother and the daughter is not captured there, right?
It's captured.
How is it captured? Can you go?
Um,
How, say father
in
and son.
everyday life, yeah. Um, I mean, is the hierarchical structures. The fans are appears to the mother and sons is and mother and daughters is like the superior and subordinate.
Superior and subordinate.
Uh,
Okay. Um, is there any more specific reference to mothers or daughters in Confucius teachings?
mm,
Maybe other
it-
influence can
it's
also
not
help.
really related to the hierarchical social structure and also related to the relations, the difference between the woman and man in the Asian China, and women's belief to, yeah, also the uh, mm, supplements of the everyday life to support men to get the financial resource. So maybe aside from the hierarchical structure, there's also like the some of the how women behave, this kind of things in, yeah, will be more in the Confucianism. Is women in the ancient China is thought to be obedient to the men and like things like that. Yeah.
Okay, so this is actually a good point. There's two things right now. One is about the content itself, Confucianism and Malay worldview, right? I think generally anyone with a critical perspective would say they tend to favor the patriarchal system, the men more than women. So that's one point. That's how would you address that? So it should be addressed, or is there something that is not in the teachings of Confucianism, not in the Malay worldview, right? So you might want to put that in the article, yeah. Or people have not really studied Confucianism that well, or the conversations have not gone to that part, right? That part, the gender equality, or more so about women, and that can be a kind of a vacuum in the conversations about Confucianism and Malay worldview, right? So that would be something to put into the article itself. What is not been discussed or what is not even there, right? I suspect that there's something there. And when we say Confucianism, it's not just about Confucius, right? It's also about not just Kongzi. It's also, you mentioned Mengzi there, right? So there's a scholars, right? That will be part of Confucianism philosophy, so to say. So there might be something there that has not been discussed, or it's not been researched enough, or it doesn't exist, right? I have my doubts whether that it doesn't exist. So it's likewise in the Malay worldview as well. So where is the mother's place? But you did mention about the adat perpatih, which is in Negeri Sembilan, where the women will be placed in a higher priority, so to say, in terms of wealth distribution and financial decision making. So there's something there. So that will be something that you might want to include in your article, right? Especially about family, and how would you address the issue about becoming, how would you come how would you address the issue of now Chang Yi Chang has just came in. Welcome Chang. Right. Chang happens to be a lecturer at Utah, so maybe he can also help, right? So we are talking about the place, position of women in Confucianism and Malay worldview, right? So it seems that it is something that is lacking. It seems from the article itself. So whereas in the hierarchical structure, we talk about the ruler and the subject, the superior and subordinate, the father to son, friend to friend. So mother and daughter is not being included, or even the Malay worldview. A strong emphasis is on the man. So how would is there anything that is being left out in the teachings or in the literature on this one? Right. So maybe somebody else also can help. Okay. Jingyi, Qijia, Qimin, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe go ahead.
Yeah. There must be something wrong with my camera because I tried but can't open it. Okay, I think maybe in general they made preparation, well organized. But I think there's still a long way to go because I think maybe the research reading materials is not enough. Just like right now, Professor said. Because I think it is something limited. For example, maybe in Tuja's presentation, she said the Confucianism focused on individual, right? Individual on the other side, the Malay worldview focus on the collective. I'm not sure. Yes, maybe. I think, Confucianism pay attention to the realizing of personal value. That's true, but it's different from individualism. And I think maybe Confucianism still want to spread the idea that collectivism. I think that's different. To pay attention to let people make a great effort to get more personal value. That's one thing, but it's different from individualism. And the other question I want to say is, what's your final target? After comparing the two different culture, two different idea, what's the final target? After comparing the similarities and the differences, what do you want to get? I think maybe according to the final target, you can better organize your reading materials, I think you should already have a target. Maybe it will be changed after your research, but now you should have a target. What's the reason or what's the result you finally want to get after comparing the two different, Confucianism and Malay worldview? What do you want to get after comparing that? And I also get some ideas from their research because it's also similar to my research target, Confucianism. I think maybe but my topic is focused on Confucianism in the business world, and maybe the business ethics, this field. So I think maybe you should read more on your topic, and you should be more clear on your final target. What do you want to get from this? Compare from this, find the similarity and differences. What do you want to finally get? I'm not sure whether I'm right, Professor.
Yeah,
That's my feeling.
I know you get that,
Hello?
teacher.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Chang, please. You
Oh,
shared some references there. I can see. Right.
all
Go
right.
ahead.
Okay. Since I just came in the middle, okay, for the just a sharing for the Malay word lah. The gender in Malay word you have, I mean Malay word is actually not a uniform. Okay, dia bukan satu entity yang sama. It's not homogeneous, but we can see that gender in the Malay word you have the more equal side. You have women leaders in, I think, Aceh Sultanate, and you have the representation of women leader at Patani Sultanate when women can lead the country. So it's more fair represented. But besides that, you have on Malay literature on such as on the Putri Masyuri, the Masyuri of Langkawi. So the representation of the literature is telling you how to be loyalty to your husband, loyalty towards men. So that's actually much more to patriarchal, but you have the more equal side, which is women, which is become great leader in Aceh Sultanate and also on the Patani Sultanate as well. Yeah, that's some of my ideas on the Malay world. Yeah.
Thank you, Chang.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Sir, am I moderating now? Okay, you're moderating.
Um,
Yeah. Oh, okay. Maybe some other thoughts, maybe some other views before we go. Go ahead. Right. You on the mic, Mutadi, yeah. Come and sit here. It's fine too.
Out of the sick, for this reason I sit there.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Okay.
I just want to highlight about something. Confucianism is like a philosophy, spiritual philosophy, but Malay people is like nation or ethnic. So is there an equivalent between philosophy or nation or ethnic? If you go to the Malay people, maybe we have two culture or three or four. The first one, their own culture, the ancient culture before religion or before non-theistic religion. To the second culture, Malay people, is most of them is Muslim people. So their culture or their worldview from Islam came from Islam. So I think if the title be converted between Confucianism and Malay Muslim worldview, more better than just Malay, just like this. Thank you.
I think those are very good inputs. So, which is the same input that Chang had just now, but that the Malay worldview is not homogeneous, right? So the Malay worldview is not homogeneous, and if you take the whole of Malay world, so to say, right, it ranges the whole of Sumatra and Peninsular Malaysia, even to the Philippines, so to say. So it's not homogeneous in that sense. So in writing the article, one of the things you might want to do is actually delineating or state the limitations of of the analysis and of your research. Let's say, what's the limitation or what's your scope of the research or the write up. So it should help. Like, so what Mutadi was saying is that maybe you want to scope it into Malay Muslims, for instance, because a lot of this is about Muslim Malays, and there are non-Muslim Malays, by the way, also a lot of it. Uh, and the idea of recognizing the fact that even at the beginning of the article, so to say, because now we are turning the article into presentation, so it's a bit simplified, so to say. At the beginning, you might want to note in both of your articles that that is very diverse, right? The Malay world is very diverse, so you're focusing on a particular type of analysis or whatever your scope is. So that helps to to make it much more manageable as far as the arguments you want to make is concerned. Yeah? So you're creating a scope of your analysis or scope of research. So but it's not easy because which part of the Malay world you're emphasizing, and that it requires a bit more thinking than just literature review, of course. So I mean, if you talk about Malay world, it extends up to even South Africa, because there's Malay communities over there too, and it has evolved as well. So those are very good, important points there. Yeah. Or the part that I would like to see captured or stated or deliberated in your articles is actually the part that is what would be missing in both of them, not just comparing. It's about what is missing in both of them too. And I think Chi Min was also talking about something else to differentiate between individualism and individual pursuit. I think something like that, right? So Confucianism, being argued that it's not against collectivism, but it's not for individualism rather, yeah, but it's for individual pursuit, individual.
Personal value realizing.
Self-actualization for the person, individual self-actualization, more than individualism like the Western individualism. It's quite different. Right. So if you look at a lot of Hong Kong movies or Chinese movies, it's always the person, become a victim, and then he learn some skills, learn some kung fu, and then become stronger or become better, right? So it's about the individual actualization of self. So it's that's one of the big genres in Chinese movies, right? About the individual strengthening himself or herself, that kind of thing. Right? Okay. Anyone wants to add anything else? Chang, maybe you have some perspective about Confucianism as well. You do? I know you study the Malay culture most of it, I guess.
If I might add something. The book that I actually paste here the link. The feminism is actually a study about masculinity and women in the Malay world, part of the Malay world. It is actually a literature about a story, actually a woman in terms of prosperous. But the genre of the story is if you marry to the woman, you get the woman, you become prosperous. So although it is actually a text about woman, but the whole thing goes back to patriarchal. That's the writing of the books, the flaming wombs. Another one would be pre-Islamic Bugis. So in pre-Islamic Bugis about gender, you have Chalalai, Chalabai, and one I cannot remember, but it is like woman trapped in a man's body, man trapped in a woman body, and you have a gender which is the woman and the man is actually in a same actually biological same body. So that person who carries the identity of both gender is the gender that can speak to the divine. So it is actually on top of it. So that is actually what happened on the gender about the pre-Islamic Buddhism. So this is just part of the ideas in the Malay world that I would want to share. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Oh, thank you. That's deep. That's even. Okay. But this is pre-Islamic Bugis, right?
Yeah.
And Bugis is a community, ethnic group in the southern Sulawesi. Fascinating area to research actually. Also, probably there's still the remaining of them, the Torajas, they're non-Muslim who actually preserve the corpse after death, right? And not just outside but inside the house. So, for a certain time, before they can be I wouldn't say buried, but kept in the great caves, Goa caves. Anyway, back to you, Sam.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we may take a break for about 10 to 20 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. You may enjoy the food out there that we have provided. We will resume our seminar at 11:40.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, sure. Yeah, the rest of you online can also join us, but you'll be having your refreshments at home.
Yeah, I think maybe we should all make in-depth research.
Yeah.
Because culture is really a very huge or big topic. Not
It is a
that,
big topic. Yeah.
yeah, not easy.
Not easy.
But I think this kind of workshop really help a lot. Give us pressure, help push us move on.
Sometimes it's good to have this comparative look at these worldviews, and when you do comparison, you can even see even more than just looking at it. And it helps for this part of the world to also understand Confucianism, and for and Confucianism is. I was told that is the one that's being recited. What is it? For school children, you actually recite, affirm Confucius teachings, right? Am I right? In the like in Malaysia, we have this national philosophy that we have to recite, every week or something like that. The children. But in China, do you kind of recite, reaffirm like a pledge? You do that?
Yeah. You know, what I'm thinking, before I do this research, I think maybe I know something about Confucianism. I thought. But after I begin my topic, I know nothing. Because it's quite different, to research a topic and to know something about it. It's just like before this, I knew 仁义礼智信 五伦五常. I know something about it, but now I think that's not enough because it's something everybody know or everybody can talk little about it, but the value, the insight and the core value, I think is not that easy to get to know. To teach, you're just like a Confucian college in every country. To teach people learn Chinese is one thing. It's just surface thing. But the deep thing, the culture, the value, I think that's not easy.
It's just, and that also the fact that they mentioned that Confucianism is a secular philosophy is actually a strength because it is a philosophy that would not interfere, quote unquote, with religion, right? So in that sense, it's a safe philosophical teaching, so to say, right? To teach, to share. Where with religion, it'd be problematic.
Different.
When it comes to religion versus religion,
Confucianism is not a religion, just teaching here.
Teachings, it's teaching.
Teaching.
There's another point that I think embedded in Confucianism that is the idea of order, the order, harmony, and harmony is very, very important in China. I remember I think I told you this before, having a conversation with the interpreter, who was it? Interpreter from during what's his name, Li Peng. So I asked her what's the priority, the number one agenda for China, and this is long time ago. And she said, no, to feed 1 billion mouths, to feed billion of people, to make sure no one is hungry. So I said, okay, then what's number two? To make sure that those who are not fed, or to make sure the whole country do not go chaotic. Chaos is bad for China. So, and also bad for the world. So order, harmony is very important for a large group of people, and for a nation like China. It's like, if whole of China went chaotic, it'd be crazy. The world would be crazy. Right? So about harmony, order. Although I'm critical of imposition of hierarchy, but you've got to value certain aspects of order and harmony too. I'm going to take some coffee or refreshment. Going to see you in 5 minutes time. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor.
Hanif, so far so good? Looks like it might be easier if there's two screens.
Yeah,
Right?
next time.
Yeah.
Pulang ke kotamu, ada setangkup haru dalam rindu. Masih seperti dulu, tiap sudut menyapaku bersahabat, penuh selaksa makna. Terhanyut aku akan nostalgia saat kita sering meluangkan waktu, nikmati bersama suasana Jogja. Di persimpangan langkahku terhenti, ramai kaki lima menjajakan sajian khas berselera, orang duduk bersila. Musisi jalanan mulai beraksi, seiring laraku kehilanganmu, merintih sendiri di telan deru kotamu. Yakin kau tak tiada kau Coba kau catat, keretaku tiba pukul 4 sore. Tak usah kau tanya, aku ceritakan nanti. Hey cantik, kemana saja? Tak ada berita, sedikit cerita. Tak ku baca lagi pesan di ujung malam. Dan Jakarta muram kehilanganmu. Terang lampu kota tak lagi sama. Sudah saatnya kau tengok puing yang tertinggal. Sampai kapan akan selalu berlari? Hingga kini masih selalu ku nanti-nanti. Terbawa lagi langkahku ke sana. Mantra apa entah yang istimewa. Ku percaya selalu ada sesuatu di Jogja. Dengar lagu lama ini katanya, izinkan aku pulang ke kotamu. Ku percaya selalu ada sesuatu di Jogja. Hey cantik, bawa aku jalan kaki saja menyusuri kota. Ceritakan semua ceritamu padaku. Ya Jakarta, diam kehilanganmu. Bau wangi hujan tak lagi sama. Sudah saatnya kau jemput musik yang tertinggal. Sampai kapan aku kan bernyanyi sendiri? Hingga kini masih selalu menanti-nanti. Terbawa lagi langkahku ke sana. Mantra apa entah yang istimewa. Ku percaya selalu ada sesuatu di Jogja. Dengar lagu lama ini katanya, izinkan aku pulang ke kotamu. Ku percaya selalu ada sesuatu di Jogja. Ingat waktu itu ku bertanya, aku mau dengar jawabnya. Terbawa lagi langkahku ke sana. Mantra apa entah yang istimewa. Ku percaya selalu ada sesuatu di Jogja. Dengar lagu lama ini katanya, izinkan aku pulang ke kotamu. Ku percaya selalu ada sesuatu di Jogja.
memakan waktu, aku masih merasa kehilangan. Di mana harus mencari yang seperti kamu, kau yang tak lagi mengingatku.
Menyiksa hati yang sepi, sunyi, hanya sisa hujan tertinggal di sudut jalan. Ada hati yang marah dan hanya kenangan tertinggal di gelap malam. Tak ada aku di hatimu, hanya sisa hujan tertinggal di sudut jalan. Ada hati yang marah dan hanya kenangan di gelap malam. Tak ada aku di hatimu, tak ada lagi kita, tak ada lagi cerita. Ku temukan cinta di indahnya Yogyakarta, buat hidupku berwarna, terbuai asmara. Ku nikmati cinta berdua selalu denganmu, menyusuri kota budaya Yogyakarta. Tapi kini saatnya tiba, ku harus tinggalkan dirimu. Meski hati kan selalu milikmu, ada yang tertinggal di Yogyakarta saat ku naiki kereta. Semua kenangan cinta terajut asmara. Entah kapan lagi kita bertemu, tak mungkin hatiku mendua. Bila nanti ku jauh, kan ku dekat cinta.
Okay, let's continue spin.
Ku tak jatuh cinta, pasrahkan diri
Oh, it's not here yet. The anchor is not here. The most important person is not here.
Tak lepas diriku kau cumbu, pelan habiskan malam romantisnya Yogyakarta. Tapi kini saatnya.
Now we will continue with our next and final presenter, Asha. Asha could not be with us for today as she had her circumstances, but she already prepared her video presentation on the decreasing of Pancasila values, implementation and actualization on the character of Indonesian youth in the digital era. For your information, Pancasila is like the national philosophy of the foundation and ideology of Indonesia. Similar like us in Malaysia, the Rukun Negara. We will present Asha presentations.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, good morning. I am Aisha, the presenter of today's workshop, and today I will be reviewing an article that I already selected. So, moving on to the second slide. So the articles that I have selected is the decreasing of Pancasila values, implementation and actualization on the character of Indonesian youth in the digital era. And the authors of these articles are Sylvia Devi, Lady Karunisa Adiani, O'Hara Christopher Pangabin, Linda Wulanika. Before that, I would like to point out this bird that besides the title, right? Did you see the bird in the yellow color? Yeah, that is the logo of Pancasila. It is Garuda. Before that, maybe many of you know about today's workshop theme, right? It's about Confucianism and Pancasila. And I would like to briefly explain what is Pancasila to the people that maybe do not know. So Pancasila is the official philosophical foundation of the Republic of Indonesia. It was formulated by Indonesia's first president, which is Sukarno. Okay, Pancasila is a term that derived from the old Javanese language, and it means five principles. To make a comparison, like if in Malaysia we have Rukun Negara, right? So in Indonesia they have Pancasila. So moving on to the third slide. Okay, in this article we have 7 sections. So for the first section, it is abstract, introduction, method, research results, discussion, conclusion, bibliography. So for the peer reviewing, we'll make a comment and a few feedbacks on every section of this article. So moving on to the 4th slide, which is the first section, abstract. So this the screenshot of this article is not all of the sentence of all of the paragraph of abstract. I just put some of it to show you guys what is important. So, for the abstract, the author summarized what's important in this study, which they stated the purpose of this study. As you can see at the line number 1, this study investigates the influence of the deteriorating application of Pancasila's practical ideas in the daily life of young people in the modern digital era and how globalization impacts the moral degeneration of today's Indonesian youth. So the author also stated the method of the study, which is the process of literature review. And as you can see, the author also highlighting the main part of the study, which is at the last line. As you can see, It's not exactly the last line, the last sentence. The application and execution of Pancasila practical ideals among young Indonesians must be enhanced to prevent the nation's moral integrity from being undermined by the expanding currents of globalization and digitalization. So as you can see, the author state the purpose of the study in their abstract, and the method and the primary sources are also written. So moving on to the next slide. The second section is the introduction. As you can see in the introduction, the author write about the Pancasila first, right? So it would be good if the authors can include academic sources, because the introduction in this paragraph about Pancasila, it is too general, and it would be good if the authors can include specific examples about Pancasila ideology and a few examples of the principles that are embedded in the Indonesia cultures and society. So it would be good if they can elaborate in details more about Pancasila in more specific. So for the next slide, the sixth slide, this is the other paragraph of introduction. In this paragraph, the author writes about the dream and aspiration of young generation. As you can see that the authors stated that at the last line, the young generation holds the key to the future growth of our country. So they talk about youth, right? Youth, digital era. These two ideas, these two themes is so important in this article. So I wish they can define what is youth. Define what is youth, at what age did youth start and at what age did the youth end. So they can also define about the digital era and globalization, and also state and elaborate the relation of the ideas, because it would be good if the theme of Pancasila and youth are together in one paragraph, and we can make digital era and globalization together, so that in the next paragraph the writer can write about the relation of these ideas and support it with specific examples. So moving on to the next slide, which is method. So first of all, as you can see, I want to mention that authors need to mention the specific amount of method that they use in this study. They just list it in the paragraph. So I think it would be good if they mention, we use 3 methods in this study, which are blah 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 blah. So the authors mention about what is library study at the first line, as you can see, and also about literature study. So as the author lists the method of the study that they use, it would be good if the author stated about the benefits of the method to the study. For example, we use FGD techniques, which is focus group discussion, FGD, right, techniques. So using FGD techniques make it easier for researchers to understand the attitudes and the terms that are commonly used on the topic discussed. So with FGD, we can find new findings quickly and obtain more explanation on it, which may not be detected if using other techniques, right? So we need further explanation on this section, like, we use this kind of method in this study, so this is the benefits that this method can give to this research. So that's the one thing. And we move to the next slide, which is the result section. So the authors have selected 10 scientific articles and journals. So the authors make it clear as they put the selected articles with the topics and the results that are obtained in table. So we can see these articles are organized in good manner. So that is a good table there. So the next slide is discussion. So discussion, as we know that it is the most important section in the article, because the discussion provides an opportunity for the authors to interpret and also explain the significance of the research results. It helps reader to understand the study more deeper. So as you can see at the beginning of the paragraph, the author mentioned about the impact of digital era, but the authors did not give further elaboration on digital era. So, what can I comment is that the authors can use the selected articles to explain more about the maybe influences of digital media on youth. For example, in the 10 selected articles, right, one of the articles they use K-pop as an example. Okay, so the authors can elaborate more on this, on how digital media such as Instagram and TikTok influences the younger generation with the current trend, and eventually have made them slowly leave the characteristic of their identity and national character by the values of Pancasila. So we need more specific elaboration and examples on that. So moving on to the next slide. Okay, slide number 10. So in this discussion section, the authors elaborate the plan on how to maximize Pancasila ideology at school level. So the authors can give more specific strategies at each category of school, including universities and maybe also high schools. So for the second paragraph, move on to the second paragraph, we can see that the author also include the practical values at communities level. So in this discussion section, the authors elaborate and give example on communities level. Like at the line number 7, neighbors of different religions being able to live in harmony and helping each other. So the authors can elaborate more and on feminist levels, and they need more explanation on government level, which is maybe government policy and support about this thing, because we know that government policies can play a significant role in reinforcing Pancasila values through educational reforms and media regulation, and also maybe initiatives that promote cultural and national identity. So the authors need to be more specific in their explanation. It's the same, okay, it's the same comment, like you need to be specific in the examples and also the elaboration. You can't just be too general, because it's like this. For example, right, you ask your friend, oh, what you want to eat for today, and then your friend will answer you, oh, anything, whatever. You know, you'll be like, oh my god. You know, you'll be like that. But if your friends, I'll be like, oh, I want to eat nasi ayam. Oh, you really want to eat nasi ayam? Oh, you are craving nasi ayam? Okay, let's go eat nasi ayam. So you eventually be, you know, you'll be happy, because you know what they want, because they know what they want. You know, they give us the specific answer, so we don't have any lingering question in our mind. So it's just the same. Okay, we cannot be general, we need to be specific. So the last one is the conclusion. Move on to the 11th slide. The last section will be conclusion, right? So for the conclusion, the author highlighting the most important fact in the first line. which is with the advancement of technology and digitalization in Indonesia, which is becoming increasingly advanced and contemporary, the national character of Indonesian society, particularly the younger generation, is vanishing. So the conclusion, overall they write 3 paragraphs, and in this case it can be shorter than that as there are unnecessary sentences including in the paragraph. However, in the last paragraph, okay, it's not at the slide, but in the last paragraph the author also stated one possible way to maximize the advantages and functions of the Pancasila philosophy as the nation's ideology, which is at the line number 8. Okay, the last paragraph. Pancasila ideals to make younger generation feel comfortable knowing and adopting Pancasila ideals in their life. So the next slide, which is bibliography. This is the last slide. As you can see, this is not the organized one. It's not that neat either. So what I want to mention is it is important to know which type of citation you use in your research. You have to know, is it APA or MLA or Chicago? So if you don't know which one to use, you can just ask your lecturer or your supervisor. And also, if you cannot do it manual, like type the citation manually, just ask the Google to help, and there will be a lot of websites that can list your references, and they will put it and align it nicely. So all you can do is just copy and paste it only. So that's all from me. Thank you.
That's the end of Aisha's presentation on the comparison, on the decreasing of Pancasila values implementation and the actualization on the character of Indonesian youth in the digital era.
Let me give some comments since Aisha is not here. Aisha is undergoing medical treatment, that's why she's not here. A couple of things I think is good for us to take note. Yeah, bibliography or references. Two things. One is that a good reference list should include not just the classics but also more contemporary literature. So it should not be dated, it should not be outdated. It cannot be all in the 1990s or 1900s, whatever. It should also be updated, updated list to at least, if it's not 2023, which is this year, it should be, just a couple of years ago, you have some references, right? Unless it's really limited, talking about references. But usually a topic should have references from more contemporary write-ups, publications. So to have that in, right? The second thing is still about reference or bibliography. It should cover giving more emphasis on articles, journal articles, and then books, and then the rest, right? So books and journal articles are the main focus for references that should be included. Unless you're doing something special, analyzing the diary of Mahatma Gandhi, you're focusing on the diaries, and there are some other publications. But if we are talking about in general, the focus should be on journals and books, and then the rest. That's about bibliography. The other thing about abstract, I'm not sure, I know Aisha made some good comments about abstract. I just want to add a couple more things. So abstract should have one or two sentences on the background of the study, which is included here, and then be clear about what the objectives are or what the research questions or research objectives are stated in the abstract as well. And then there must be a line or two on methods or methodology, and also the key findings. Not necessarily all the findings, but the key findings. And how do the findings contribute to knowledge in a simplified explanation. You include one sentence, maximum two, about how this research or this article, this write-up contribute to knowledge. So that is the abstract. So abstract is something that the editors or sub-editors would definitely look at. Yeah, it's almost a must that we look at that. So we want to make the abstract very clear, very concise, and highlighting the strengths of the article. So it plays a very, very important role, abstract. Right? So, and then I'm not sure there were keywords in this article. So the keywords should also be there. The keywords should not be long, but the keywords are keywords that are often, the keywords that people search and keywords that you want to highlight in the article. So I'm not sure it's there. Finally, about this article, I'm not sure. Because this article is more like a literature review, so the conclusion made is not necessarily an empirical conclusion about whatever reality. It is more about what the literature says. So I'm not sure that it's clear in depth, but I haven't read the article, so I cannot comment in depth, in detail about this article. So it is more about literature review, more than making conclusion about the diminishing, character of Indonesians vis-a-vis Pancasila. By the way, it's Pancasila, not Pankasila, right? Pancasila. Panca means five. So that's just a bit of my inputs to the article. Thank you. Okay. Yeah.
And then, thank you, Dr. Ramani, on your explanation on how to review the articles. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this informative seminar. I hope you all enjoy and benefit from the presentations and discussion of our speakers. I would like to thank the speakers and Dr. Ramani for their valuable contributions for making the seminar a success. And I hope this seminar has sparked your curiosity and has inspired you to learn more about the topics that we discussed today. I wish you all the best in the future and the world, and hope to see you again in our next seminar. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you.